We all make plans, right? We have our career goals, our 5-year plans, even just what we're going to do next weekend. But what happens when a plan that is so much bigger, so much more profound, just completely interrupts our own? Well, today we're going to dive into a really powerful message from Pastor Jericho Neither, or Pastor Jay, about that very moment, the moment our best intentions get completely flipped on their head by a divine promise we absolutely never saw coming. So, to really get this ancient story, let's start with a problem that feels incredibly now. It's kind of wild, right? We're supposedly more connected than ever before, but so many of us feel this deep sense of isolation, almost like we're spiritually homeless. And this idea of relational poverty is the perfect way to frame the story we're talking about today, because it's all about that search for a true home, for a legacy that actually lasts. All right, so our story is all about a man who, from the outside looking in, had absolutely everything. Let's talk about King David. He's at the pinnacle, the absolute height of his power and success. I mean, this is a guy who's done everything he ever set out to do. And now, he's got his sights set on his biggest project yet.
And just think about his journey for a second. This wasn't some guy who was born with a silver spoon. He starts as this overlooked shepherd kid. Then, bam, he takes down Goliath and becomes a national hero. He becomes king, he unites the entire nation, and finally, after all these years of chaos and literally running for his life, he's at peace. He's living in a gorgeous palace made of cedar. He has made it. So David's sitting there in his brand new palace, and he has this thought. And you know what? It's a good thought. It's a really noble idea. He starts to feel this disconnect. He's like, wait a minute. I'm living in this incredible luxury, but the Ark of the Covenant, the actual symbol of God's presence, is just out there in a tent? So his plan is simple. Build God a permanent, beautiful temple, a physical house to honor him. I mean, it makes total sense, right? Okay, but this is where the whole story just takes a hard left turn. David brings his plan to the table, this totally well-intentioned idea, but God's response is something nobody could have predicted. It's a moment that changes everything, not just for David, but really for the rest of biblical history. This right here, this is the divine script flip. And this slide just lays it out so perfectly. Look at the contrast. David offers to build God a house made of stone and wood, but God's response is basically, thanks, but no thanks. You're not going to build me a house. Instead, I'm going to build you a house. You see what happened? God takes David's blueprint for a building and flips it into a promise for a dynasty. He literally swaps a physical structure for a spiritual legacy. So the key to understanding this whole incredible exchange comes down to one single Hebrew word, bait. You could almost think of it as a divine pun. See, David is thinking of bait as a physical building, a house. But God uses that exact same word, bait, to mean a dynasty, an enduring family line. This clever wordplay is what unlocks the massive, profound depth of what God is really promising David here. So how does David react to having his grand project turned down? Does he get frustrated, disappointed? Not at all. Instead, he's just floored. He is hit with this wave of humility and awe. He just sits before God and asks, "Who am I?" Because in that moment, he gets it. He understands the wordplay. He sees the massive, infinite gap between the temporary stone house he wanted to build and the eternal family house God was promising to build for him. And that realization, it just leaves him absolutely speechless. So what does this whole thing really tell us about God's character? Well, this divine reversal, this script flip, it's not just a one-off thing. It's actually part of a much bigger pattern, one that shows us something really essential about how God works. I mean, just look at the pattern here. God doesn't wait around for us to build him some perfect, fancy temple. He just shows up, and usually it's in the most unexpected places you can imagine. He meets Moses at a burning bush in the middle of nowhere. He finds Gideon hiding in a wine press, terrified. He confronts Saul on a road while he's on his way to persecute Christians, and he gives the book of Revelation to John on a prison island. The lesson couldn't be clearer. God operates way outside of our boxes and our grand plans. And that brings us to another key Hebrew word, barak, which means to bless. Now this is so cool. It doesn't just mean, hey God, can you give me stuff? The root of the word actually means to kneel. So when David asks God to bless his house, he's not just asking for stuff. He's kneeling, he's submitting, surrendering his own plans, his own legacy to God. And that posture is what truly opens the door for divine favor.
And really, the whole story is pointing to something even bigger down the road. That eternal house, that dynasty promised to David, it finds its ultimate fulfillment in Jesus Christ, who is a descendant of David. His life, death, and resurrection, they create a brand new kind of spiritual house, the church. And this house isn't built with stones, but with people from every corner of the globe. Okay, so what does this ancient story about a king, a temple, and a promise have to do with us right here, right now? With our own plans and struggles? Well, Pastor Jay's message gives us some really practical ways to bring this home.
There are two really powerful takeaways. First, practice proclamation. Think about it. David responded to God's incredible promise by praying it right back to him. We can do the exact same thing. Speak God's promises out loud over our lives, over our families. And second, create a tent of meeting. David went into that humble tent to meet with God, right? So we can create our own version of that. It could be a specific chair, a corner of a room, just a designated space in our home where we can intentionally go to pray and connect with God, away from all the noise.
And all of this really leaves us with one big, important question to think about. What's the house that you're trying to build right now? Is it your career, your reputation, your family plans? And what if, just like David, you were to surrender your blueprint and discover that God has a completely different one for you? One that's so much bigger, so much better, and so much more lasting than anything you could ever imagine.
Wow, so that was just a little taste of this powerful message from Pastor Jericho Neither. And if this whole idea of God having a bigger, better plan for you has really hit home and you want to hear more from him, here's how you can do that.
You can find a ton of inspiring content from Pastor Jay by following Believers Faith Worldwide basically everywhere. You can check them out on TikTok at Believers Faith Worldwide. They're on Facebook as Believers Faith Worldwide. On YouTube, the channel is Believers Faith with Pastor Jay. For music and podcasts, just search for Believers Faith Worldwide on SoundCloud. And hey, you can even shoot them an email directly. Thank you so much for diving into this incredible story with us today.